Okay, I think we are live now. I was meant on going live at 9 o'clock, but I really had some technical issues here with rotating the angle of my iPhone here, but it's all solved now. So welcome to today's Monday Doodle. Today I'm going to share some tips on shading, as I will have this as a study case, the sculpture here, and then I'll try to use this approach I have of shading on one of my characters that I have in the sketchbook. You're more than welcome to ask me any kind of questions regarding shading or other sorts of questions. You're also welcome to do that, and I'll try to answer them as good as I can. Also after the stream, if there's something you're curious about. Let's just put this over here. So I was out for a walk Sunday or Saturday, and I took a picture of the sculpture here because I wanted to do a Monday Doodle about shading, because this is a thing that many people would like to know about, and it's a thing that's really nice to be able to know something about when you draw, because that's the thing where you get some life into it, you get some depth into it, and some convincing feel. The reason I took this sculpture here is that I have been drawing it before, or one of the other elements is a huge park actually where this is from. The great thing about a sculpture is that you get this relief kind of feeling to it. It's easy to see what planes, what surfaces go outwards and what planes recede, which is a key element in shading, I think. And the other thing is that you have some more easily understandable shapes, sort of like almost geometrical shapes in a sculpture, because the shapes are kind of simplified. So this makes it easier for us to understand how we can shade things. So the key thing in shading, in how I think about shading, is a way of thinking that I got from a guy called, what is his name now? Bridge. Let me just have that. Is it Anthony Bridge? Anthony Bridge. No. Bridge. Drawing Bridge. Oh, of course, I get a lot of things out when I Google Anthony Bridge. Let me just find it here real quick, because his name is kind of relevant. Studies, inspiration, master drawings, George. Yeah, here it is. There's a guy's called George Bridgman. And what he really says is that sometimes you see an element of architecture in the city that could kind of look like this, maybe. And have this sort of thing here. When drawing the human figure, we essentially have the same kind of outward going motions and inward going motions. And where do you want to put the shade? You want to put the shade where things go inside. So here, for instance, we have a plane. Just calling this a plane. It's the same as a surface. That is basically neutral. Then it starts to go in, and this is where you want to put some shade, because light doesn't fall here. Then we essentially get another element of shading, because of this one being on top of that one. And then we have a thing that goes outwards again. So light falls on this part again, and then this part here is receding, which we can then shade. So just about the point where the shape kind of breaks and goes in, we add shade. I can tell he also puts some shade here. So whenever something goes outwards, we have light hitting the surface, and whenever it goes inwards, we will have shade. We can also say that this surface is protruding, and this plane here is receding. So let's try to have that way of thinking in mind when we look at the drawing over here. So we are a bit guided of the darkness. You can see every time we have some darkness. So for instance here on the back of his head, we have it here a bit on the bottom of the rib cage, and then we have it here on the buttocks. We also have it here and here. We have it here on the calf, a bit here also, and then on the feet down here, a very dark tone down here. So if I drew him from the side, from the profile, let's imagine that we drew him from the side, kind of. We have the head, and we have the back. Just draw it like this. Buttock. Kind of. This is not the way he looks at all, but kind of. So the neck is his neck over here. The back that curves is his back here that curves. The buttocks here are the buttocks that curve. The thighs, and so on. And let's just try to use what Bridgman tells us. So we know that this head here goes inwards, so that's going to be shade. Then we have it going outwards until here, where it goes in again. Then it goes outwards again, and inwards. Outwards and inwards a bit. Outwards and inwards. Then outwards for the heels, we can also see that very clearly on the sculpture here that they receive light, these planes. So light and then dark. So you see this rhythm here? Light, dark, and so on. This is essentially what creates the three-dimensionality. And what else should I say? Yeah. So let's say that I called these a plane just before. This is also a plane. This is also a plane. And these planes are family. They are related because they all receive light. While these planes here, the dark ones, are also in a family, in a different family, because they recede, so they are related in that way. And let me know if you have any questions about this. I think it's a very interesting theory, and I think it's the first time I read about it or heard about it. It was kind of an eye opener. Yes. So also, if you take such a thing as a sculpture, this thing over here, this massive shape. How would you shade that? Well, let me just try to simplify the shape over here. So this part here It's kind of that part over here. And it goes up and disappears out of the frame. And this part over here is this part here. So you can tell on the picture here how this part and this part is more dark, because the planes here recede, they go inwards. So you can show this by doing some hatching. And then immediately you have some kind of a drawing that tells you something about where the light hits. It communicates something. Yes, I think now I will try to show you what the character that I'll be shading, so you can see the theory used in practical manner. Let me just see where I have it. Here. So I've cheated a bit from early on. I drew this frog character, and let's just try to put on some shade on this character here. I'll just put this in frame so it looks a bit more organized. Okay. Cheers, by the way. This is kind of cold tea now because I was spending almost an hour to fix this iPhone rotating system. Okay, so if I start by looking at the back head of the frog. Now the back head of the frog is different than that of the human skull, because the frog's back head kind of just go into the neck, while the humans have this more long neck. So there's really not an option for me to shade the back head here. I just want to make that as it is. What else can we do? We could work with the body of him, this big chunk here of his body, which is almost the same as this part here. So we saw that there was a receding plane here on the back of the body, also here. So we could add some tone down here on the back of his body, like so. Bit of hatching there, and I should have told you this, but it's important here that I try to make them a bit more straight, maybe, so they don't look like hair. So there's not this hairy frog. So what else could we do? I think you know the answer. We could work on the buttocks here. We saw that there was receding plane here beneath the buttocks here. So let's just put some hatchings on the buttocks, just at the point where they start to go inwards. So it could be here. And I try to make the hatchings go a bit curvy, so they communicate that the way the plane curves of the buttocks. And that was those. What else? What about these things down here? We could maybe show them. It goes inwards, so we hatch. That was those. And then what about the calf muscles? Interestingly, the calf muscles of the frog are very similar to the human being, so shouldn't be difficult for us. So let's just say the muscle protrudes around here. So this means that there should be shade here. And then we have a heel. I'm gonna leave that untouched. Like that. And then we have, you can see why I kind of drew him in the same manner, kind of with the back and standing on his toes. So we saw that the feet, or the bottom of the feet here should be in tone. So same thing with the frog's feet here. And what else could we do? We could do on the arm. So the arm is round here. So this will recede and this will protrude. And now that his hand is so, his whole arm is kind of weirdly attached to him, you don't really have a sense whether the arm is going towards us or going away from us. So we can actually just have a bit of fun here and let's just decide that the arm is going a bit away from us. So this is where we can use our shading. Just make this arm go away from us by using hatching. Like so. Here we're dealing a bit with aerial perspective in a way, because obviously this elbow is maybe coming a bit towards us, but by using hatchings on this area, I've kind of communicated that the arm is further away from us than the back, for instance. So the arm now seems to recede and not protrude. There's one more place on the frog that could be given some hatchings to illustrate the shape. And here I'm not thinking about the frog itself, I'm thinking about the binoculars. Because if this arm here, if it has shading down below and if it's round, then we could do just the same thing with the binoculars. Because as we saw, when you have a plane, you can find other planes that are in family. So this plane here is almost the same as the binoculars. So let's just go in and add a bit of hatchings. Like that. We can also be make some cross hatchings to make it even more. There we go. So that was showing shading using hatching. And a bit of cross hatching over there. I made a video on cross hatching, both geometrical shapes and also organic shapes, so feel free to check that one out if you want to learn more about these techniques. The last thing I want to do is I'd like to show how you can shade also using watercolors, using the same principle, what's protruding and what's receding. I've already painted this one green, so now I will find a nice color that we could use to create some shade. And I think it would be nice with the green one, but maybe also be interesting with a blue one. Blue is kind of a classic when it comes to watercolor and shades, because blue always works. What about mixing a purple? Could that be fun? Might work. Let's see here. Yes, this could work. Maybe a more purplish. And you don't need a lot here, I think. To create some. Where was I? Okay. To create this. No shade here. Just a light. I can make this a bit more light, so I don't overdo it. Okay, so we have a foot here. Is it called a foot when it's a frog? I'm not sure. But anyway, it comes towards us. We have this shape. I can also show you by doing some cross contours here. So these indicate to us that we are dealing with kind of cylinders. and these are very helpful to make for us to shade, because we saw that we have when we have a drastic change from light to and then the shape changes, we get some tone. So here we can tell that the drastic change of the plane is around here and below. So about half the way down here, on the a bit more actually, there will be some tone to illustrate that. So let's just try to now go in and a bit more. So, and then the same thing over here. So I do the same thing. I treat the toes kind of like the same on each 3 toes here, because they are, as you saw, in family. Now this was a very light wash, but I hope that you can see that things starts happening here. There starts to become this 3D effect, even though this was a very light wash. You could also put maybe a bit here on the side of it, just like that. And really, you could, there are no rules in drawing, kind of. They're just things to mess around with, and some things work and some things work better than the others. But here you can kind of, let's go a bit darker here to see what happens. Maybe it gets too dark, I don't know. That's maybe a bit too dark, but then you can always loosen things up a bit. So, and you could also have fun with these things between. Add a bit of shade here, because maybe these planes recede a bit less light than these do. I would also have done it the other way around. It's all just playing, but the basic rule, the rule you gotta keep in mind is, once you put shade, once I've put shade on this side of the plane, of the foot here, I gotta do the same thing on the remaining, because if I put tone or watercolor over this toe here, I would kind of destroy or mess around with the illusion of 3-dimensionality. So that's the key really, to find planes that are in family. I'm really rambling tonight. I can feel that. I hope that you get something out of this. Please ask me any questions, because some of this is just like riding a bicycle. I'm doing some stuff that I can't really explain. It's kind of memorized in my hand, and yeah, like riding a bicycle. But once I have to tell you about what I'm doing, it becomes a bit more difficult. So the frog here I have left untouched, and this is because I wanted to show you here in the end here. Now we've worked with using shade on the things that are receding, and you can also do the reverse, which is really fun. So let's say that the frog here, let's say that light is coming from behind him and towards us. This would mean that the shape of him would be in shade at the places where things protrude. So kind of the reverse thing. Let's do that by, should we make him blue? No, let's just make him purple. Let's make him purple. I have to think. Can't think. This. So let's make him purple. So here I'm thinking reverse. I'm thinking all of the things that are coming towards us, I'll leave that in shade. Look at these cute little bathing pants. I'm still thinking about making a drawing course, online drawing course, so please let me know if anyone out there would be interested in such a thing, and also maybe what kind of what would you like to get out of the course. There we go, maybe also on the arm here, on the inner on his arm. So now we have the sensation that light is coming from somewhere behind him, and essentially now he is seen in counter light. Yeah, I think that was it actually. I just feel like adding some watercolor also to this frog here with the hatching. That would be interesting to do that just for fun. Now that I've set up the camera and all that, let's try and add a real turquoise green and see what happens if you do that. Oh, this is very... okay, let's try it out. Once you can get the hang of it, you'll start to treat the planes all naturally, just going over the figure without thinking really. So here I start to also maybe add a bit here, and a bit here, here. And then let's just soften out the edges here a bit. I just squeeze this a little bit so I get some water out of it. And then I'll work over the body here. We could pull out the hamstrings a bit. Make them pop a bit more. So by doing this, I kind of soften the shadows here, because that's how shadows work when they hit an object that's round. Then it's a more smooth transition, while as an object that's more squarey would have more sharp transitions. Let's put a shape beneath them. Yes, I believe that was it. Hello, Batwan. That's cozy. You were also here last Monday. I can answer your questions here before ending the doodle. What brand is your watercolor? This one I got from my sister actually. I have quite many watercolors, but this is Winsor & Newton. Good brand. I have good experience with it. And if I love brush pens, not sure if I love them. I do like them, but it's not like I have a favorite drawing materials as such. It's more like I go through different phases. Sometimes I really like to draw with the pencil. Sometimes I like to use a fine liner, and sometimes a brush pen. But right now I'm kind of in a phase where I enjoy working with fine liner and watercolors or ink actually. now that you ask. So yeah, it's those kind of little cycles that you're in. But I think that was it for this Monday Doodle. I hope you found this session here interesting. Let me know if you should do more of these, and also please let me know about this online drawing course. This could be a thing in 2023 that I could take up. Have a splendid Monday and have a splendid Tuesday tomorrow. If you're watching this today, have a splendid Tuesday. And other than that, I just want to say I'll see you around and have fun drawing. Bye.